All right, my friends, now we're learning this week's Torah reading, which is Parshat Emor. These are special commandments that God gave to the Kohanim, to the priests. And as you know, there were two types of Kohanim. There was that served in the temple. There was Kohanim that were regular Kohanim. And then there was what's called the Kohen Gadol. Kohen Gadol. That sort of corresponds to Aaron, the brother of Moses and all of his children. We'll learn a kliyakar about that. But in any case, the center, and if you want to call it the free sample that God gave the Jewish people of what's going to be, what the world is going to be like in the times of the Mashiach, is the Holy Temple. The Holy Temple was a physical place where God, the creator of the universe, was revealed. The creator of the universe was revealed. It's like you have a microscope, you look at the microscope, you can see all these little whatever it is, the protozoas or whatever moving around there and cells and things like that. That's what you're made of. So the Holy Temple was sort of like a microscope. Right? You go there, you saw godliness, that's what you're made of. You're made of, God is making you and creating you, so you feel God. Of course, it's sort of the opposite. Instead of seeing something that's smaller than you, like little microbes or whatever, you see something that's bigger than you. They saw pure godliness. So really in the Holy Temple was the same revelation, at least in the Holy of Holies, the same revelation that there was on Mount Sinai. Now there was the creator of the universe that took the Jews out of Egypt, revealed himself, and he's creating everything all the time. It's not just that he created it a long time ago. So he's creating me and you, and he's revealed in the temple, and he shows why, because the whole thing of the temple was service. How to repay the creator of the universe, this amazing miracle that he's creating us for free and giving us eyes and nose and mouth and free will and all these other amazing gifts, so we can actually serve him, return return a little bit of the energy that he's giving us. And of course, it has to be on his terms, not on our terms. That's why there's always, whether there's strange, bizarre things in the Holy Temple, like sacrifices, and that makes no sense at all. But that's what God wants. It also doesn't make any sense why he's creating us. Right? We have two eyes and a mouth and a nose. And people are usually not born, let's say, with their mouth in their stomach and their eyes on the top of their head or in the back of their head, like a lizard or something. That's what people are born. That's the way it is. So that's God's will. And God also has another will, which is called the Holy Temple. And in the Holy Temple, that was the Torah expressed. And there were certain people called the Kohanim, and they were direct descendants of Aaron, the Kohen. And they were the only ones that could really do most of the services in the temple. And of course, the services on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, that were done in the Holy Temple. Good. And nowadays, there is no Holy Temple. And so all of these services that are doing on the temple, and you can look at it one of two ways, because it's not necessary. The temple already took care of what it had to be taken care of back then. I mean, in any case, the temple, the sacrifices in the temple were only for accidental sins, shogeg, sins that were done in ignorance, sins that were done on purpose. The temple didn't bring forgiveness for them anyway. And even the ones that did bring forgiveness for, the accidental ones, you had to regret the past and make firm resolutions on the future. And that, all that we still have now. And the Kohen, we also have the Kohanim now. We also have the Kohanim now. And most of these laws don't apply nowadays. Well, a lot of them actually do. So we'll see. Okay, so we'll see what it is. The Kohanim, what they're called the priestly class, people are direct descendants from Aaron. They still have maintained their holiness, and there are things that they're not allowed to do. They can't marry anybody they want to. Kohanim, they're not supposed to be in a place where there's the dead body and defile and stuff. So let's have a little look, and then I want to go and we'll just take a very brief look over here at the sentences of this week's Torah portion, so you know what we're talking about, and then we'll go to the commandments. Oh, hello, wonderful, good, yeah. Okay, here we go. Vayomer Hashem al Moshe. God said to Moshe, and more al Kohanim, speak to the Kohanim, Bnei Aaron, the sons of Aaron, V'omar toleim, and say to them, Lenefesh lo yitama ba'amav, do not defile yourselves for any Jew. Don't do it. Can't defile themselves for anybody. Right, why does it say the sons of Aaron? Just say the Kohanim. What is that? The sense? So the Kli Yakar talks about that, and we'll learn a few other things. Let's have just a look at Rashi. Rashi is the main explainer over here. One second, right? Yeah. This morning we had a class, and I forgot to make a division to stop and then record again between the two classes. So it ended up there was one long class that was an hour and something minutes long. But you'll see on the YouTube, I delineated the first class is 40 minutes long, and the second class takes off 40 minutes. That's like 20 minutes long, something like that. So you have a look, you'll see. Okay, here we go. Back to the class. God said to Moses, tell the Kohanim, the sons of Aaron. Let's see what Rashi has to say. Say to the Kohanim, more, say to the Kohanim, V'amarta, and say. Why does that say twice? What's going on here? But Yomer Hashem el Moshe, more al Kohanim, say to the Kohanim, the sons of Aaron, V'amarta, and say. He already said say. Why does it have to say twice? So Rashi says, it's not a mistake. And more of Amarta, it says two times, lazhir. One time is to say to the Kohanim, and the other one is that they should say, right? The Omar Ataleim, and you should say to them, you should tell them that they should warn their children, right? And those pass it down to the next generations. Bnei Aaron, Yochel, you might think, Chalalim, it says the sons of Aaron. Why does it say the sons of Aaron? We know the Kohanim are. So you might think the Chalalim. Okay, what is a Halal? You're going to learn a new term, a new type of a Kohen, a disqualified Kohen. There's a great Kohen, a Kohen Gadol. There's a regular Kohen, Kohen Hedyot. And then there's a disqualified Kohen, that's called a Halal. Then we're going to learn that there's also a woman that's a halala. We'll see what that means. Anyways, a halal is a Kohen, a person whose father was a Kohen, but he had relations with a woman that was forbidden for him. Like, for instance, a divorcee. So the child that comes out is what's called a Kohen halal, which basically means he's not a Kohen anymore. He hasn't got any of the rights of the Kohen. He can't serve in the temple. Av balei mumin b'mashma, bnei Aaron, the sons of Aaron, even the sons of Aaron that have blemishes. Now there's like 90 blemishes that can disqualify a Kohen. There are certain things that can disqualify a regular person from going into the temple, but very few. There's the things that disqualify a Kohen from being a Kohen. If his hands are disformed, if his eyebrows are disformed, if his nose is disformed, if his eyes are very strange. But nevertheless, that's what God decided. The sons of Aaron, right? The sons of Aaron, and not the daughters of Aaron. The daughters of Aaron are, yes, allowed to defile themselves for a dead person. Now, what does it mean defile themselves for a dead person? To touch a dead person, basically. To touch a dead person, to lift up something that a dead person was on. A dead person passes over them, to pass over a dead person. Below yitama ba'amav, you should not defile yourself for a dead person that is among the people. In other words, there's someone else that can bury him. Yotzem meit mitzvah. If a Kohen is walking down the street, down the road, and he sees a dead Jew, and there's no one there to bury him, he has to defile himself and bury that person. That's called a meit mitzvah. Kohanim are not allowed to defile themselves, but in what's called a meit mitzvah, if it's a dead body that there's no one to bury him, so instead of just leaving the body there and saying it's his problem, he's not supposed to do that. He has to defile himself in order to. Yeah, but there's certain exceptions. What are the exceptions? Ki'im l'she'ero, but for his relatives, and here he says relatives means his wife. Namely, his wife, his mother, his father, his son, and his daughter, and his brother and sister. A regular Kohen, if his mother, father, sister, brother, son, daughter, or wife die, he can, yes, defile himself for them. Skipping all these temporarily. Okay. Also, his sister, what do we say his sister? Until she gets married. Achotoa betula, his sister that is a virgin. Hakarova, I love, that is close to him. What does that mean? Even if she is not married yet, she's just engaged to be married. According to Judaism, a woman that's engaged, it's almost the same thing as being married. They have to have a divorce bill and everything. But that's the way it used to be. Now they make the engagement and the marriage under the wedding canopy all at once. But it used to be a period of waiting between them. Anyway, but she's not really married. So if he has a sister and she is engaged to be married to someone, but she is not married and she dies, this Kohen can defile himself for her. That she is never, she's still a virgin. She never had relations with anyone, that it is a commandment he should defile himself for her. Okay, so these are very strict conditions that the Kohanim have to watch in the time of the temple. And now it's also the same thing to a certain degree. Okay, just one second. Kadoshim that they have to be holy, and they should not chalel, they should not disgrace or make hollow the name of their God, because the fire of God, the bread of God, the sacrifices they sacrifice, so they have to be holy. A woman that is a zona, that she had relationships, or she had a sexual relation with someone that a Jew cannot get married to. For instance, a Jewish woman that had relations with a non-Jew, he cannot marry her. Isha Grusha, or a divorced woman, a Kohen is not allowed, even to this day, a Kohen is not allowed to marry a divorcee. He can marry a widow. A regular Kohen, but a Kohen Gadol, well, we don't have such a thing nowadays, cannot. Okay, let's learn a few of the Ubas ish Kohen ki sechel lezenos. But the daughter of a Kohen, if she has relations with someone that's forbidden for her to, so she is disgracing her father, she is burned in fire. What does it mean, burned in fire? Not that they make a big pyre and burn her in the fire. We learn what the punishment of burning is. But like I said, it's almost impossible for this to happen, because in order for her to get punished by this burning, they force her mouth open and they pour boiling lead down. But in order to do this weird punishment, she has to be warned, and there has to be witnesses, and she has to say, yes, I understand what the punishment is, and I don't care, and immediately do the sin in front of the witnesses. And then the witnesses, of course, can't be relatives or anything like that. And then they take her to court, and she has to be proved that she was totally within her normal mind, and etc. and then she gets this punishment. So it says it's almost impossible to punish anybody, but she might not get punished physically. But the fact is that this shows you that God is very displeased with such activities. What about a Kohen Gadol? What about the high priest? That there was poured on his head the oil of anointing, and he puts on the special garments. He can never, we said that before, he can never grow long hair. He has to get a haircut once every 30 days at least. And his garments he should never tear. And he can never defile for any dead person, not his father, not his mother. He can't defile from them. From the holy temple, from his holiness, he can never go out, etc. And he can't marry a widow. He shall be betulah yikach. He has to take a woman that is a virgin, an almanah, a widow, a divorced woman, a halala. We had a halal, a woman that had relations with someone that was forbidden, a zonah, a halala that she was born from an improper relationship, or a zonah, she had relations with someone that no Jew can marry. He cannot get married, but he has to take a betulah, a woman that has never been married before. That's the high priest. He has to take for a wife. Okay, so we learned a little bit. You have a little bit of an idea what we're getting ourselves into here. How God is very demanding from the COHANIM. COHANIM. I don't like to use the word priest because it doesn't have such a, it's been tainted by other religions. So anyway, let's learn the Kli Yakar a little bit. Why does it say to the Kohanim, B'nai Aaron? The Kli Yakar is Rabbi, what is it? Elio Shlomo Lunchitz from Prague. We talked about him before. He lived in the same time as the Maor Almi Prague. The Maor Almi Prague made a human being. You know the story. Human being that couldn't talk. He was much younger, but he assumed the position of being the chief rabbi of Prague after the Maharal, Rabbi Yehuda Levi. After he passed away, he became the rabbi. So he said, why does it say to the Kohanim, the sons of Aaron? You don't know the Kohanim, the sons of Aaron. We don't know that the Kohanim are the sons of Aaron. Why does it have to tell you that they're sons of Aaron? Also, why does it say, Emor leKohanim v'amarta, and say? Same question that Rashi asked. So the Kli Yakar says, what's near to me is like this. Aaron, he was holy to God. Hayam Makara Kedusha, he was the source of holiness. He went into the Holy of Holies. Umimenu Nimshacha Kedusha, and from Aaron came the holiness. Aaron was really Moses' older brother, so really he was the one that should have taken the Jews out of Egypt, but he was very humble and he let God, he didn't complain. So God said, okay, you're going to be the high priest. So all the holiness comes from him, and it also comes through him to his sons. But his sons were not like him, called sad in every way. They were a little bit further from the source of holiness, like their father Aaron was. And especially when you have to remember that the two of the holiest sons of Aaron, they died. They died in this terrible accident, Nadav and Avihu. So all was left was Elazar and Tamar, and they weren't at the same level as holiness. But even Nadav and Avihu were still not the same level as Aaron. Therefore, Aaron, he was the source of holiness. It wasn't permissible for him to defile himself, to become impure for any of his relatives, not even his father and mother. If they die, he cannot go to the funeral. The king Kolkoin and also all the other high priests that came from him were similar to him in every way. They received this holiness from the essence and the beginning of holiness from Aaron. But Aaron, he was the source of the whole thing. Like it says, Nezer Shem Mishchatz Elokov, like it says, the crown of the anointing oil of God was on him. Nezer, the Nezer means to be separated. In other words, he was separated by this oil of anointing oil of God was given to Aaron, and not by means of anyone. Aaron was directly attached to the source of holiness. About Bnei Aaron, but all of the sons of Aaron, and also all the other high priests that came after Aaron, that they received the holiness through Aaron. Let's say Dadim, in a side way, Katani, we learned, they're like additionally. Ki mitzad atzmam, on their own, they haven't got this holiness like Aaron did. And because they're the sons of Aaron, that's the only reason they have holiness. That's why their law is different than Aaron. They're allowed to defile themselves they're not allowed to defile themselves only for dead people. They're dead people that are not their relatives. But because they're a little bit further from holiness than Aaron, they are allowed to defile themselves for their mother and father, sister, brother, son and daughter, and wife. Therefore, Kafel Amira, therefore it says twice, Amor and Amarta. The first time it says Amor la Kohanim, the sons of Aaron. That's talking about because they are the sons of Aaron. Therefore, they have holiness. And the second time it says Amira, that's talking about the Kohanim, the sons of Aaron, because their holiness is not because of Aaron, they're just the sons of Aaron. Therefore, they're a little bit less level than Aaron. So therefore, there's two different levels. That's what he says. He himself explains a totally different way. Some people say maybe we can even learn exactly the opposite. The first time is what they have holiness because they are the sons of Aaron. This is the source of holiness. And that the second time it says Amarta Lahem, this is not just because they receive from Aaron, but because of themselves. Even if they weren't the sons of Aaron, nevertheless, because they are the ones that serve God, and they were chosen to serve God, so they are directly attached. They are direct service of God. So in other words, two different ways of looking at the same thing. Why does it say Amarta twice? One is because all of their holiness only comes from Aaron, and except for that, they're number two holiness. And the second one is, no, that Aaron was holy. That's one type of holiness that they receive is through Aaron. But the other type of holiness is direct from God himself. Two types of holiness they receive. Okay, let's learn. Let's see, let's go over here. Not make the same mistake. Here we go. Okay. Oh. Let's learn a few of these 63 commandments that are in this week's Torah portion. Ready? It's pretty interesting, I think. We already went through a few of them, but let's see. Here we have Emor. Kaf Daled means 24 mitzvot aseh, positive commandments. And 39 prohibitions, negative commandments, prohibitions. So what is that? That's 53, right? 63, sorry. Here we go. Let's go a little bit quickly, we'll see. Negative commandment, prohibition. A regular Kohen Hedyot, is not allowed to defile himself for a dead person. He has to be serving God all the time, he has to be ready. Number two, that's the negative commandment. A positive commandment, that a regular Kohen, not the high priest, a regular priest, yes, can, and he should, it's a positive commandment, that he should defile himself for his relatives. His mother, his father, his son, his daughter, his brother, and his sister that was never married. He can defile himself for them. That's two commandments, right? We have like 61 to go. Here we go. Three commandments. Negative commandment. A regular Kohen cannot get married to a zonah. Zona, in Hebrew, zona means a prostitute, but that's not exactly what this is. A zona is a woman that had relations with someone, any woman, any Jewish woman that had relations with a man that is forbidden for a Jew to get married. The classic case, of course, is a non-Jew. A woman that has been married to a non-Jew, that has relations with a non-Jew, can never get married to a Kohen. Negative commandment. A Kohen cannot take a halala. Halala. A halala is a woman that was born from a marriage between a Kohen and someone forbidden to a Kohen. For instance, a Kohen gets married to a divorcee and they have a child girl. That girl is called a halala, and she can never get married to a Kohen. There's other examples also, but that's the main one. Negative commandment. A regular Kohen cannot get married to a divorced woman. Like it says, Isha zona v'chalala lo yikachu. It's not allowed to take. Next commandment, 2 commandments. Negative commandment, the high priest is not allowed to go into a tent where there is a dead person. Like it says, I'll call nafshot meit lo yavo. Negative commandment, a high priest is not allowed to touch or carry even his relatives that are dead. Like it says, his father, his mother, the high priest is not allowed to defile for them. Right, all these positive commandment. The high priest has to get married to a virgin. Like it says, it says the high priest, when he went into the Holy of Holies, he had to be married also. So they used to have a wife waiting for him in case his wife strangely passed away. So he had a spare wife waiting for him. But he had to be Bulgarian. Also, it says she has to be less than 12 years old. Okay. Negative commandment. Lo yikach kohen gadol. A kohen gadol, a high priest, cannot take a widow. Like it says, alman of gerusha v'chalala zona. A regular priest can take, and if you know any people who are kohanim, they can get married to a widow. They can't get married to a divorcee. But the high priest, Kohen Gadol, he cannot get married, in addition to all the other things that a regular priest can't get married to. He also can, he cannot get married to, a high priest cannot get married to a widow. He can't get married to a widow. A regular priest can get married to a widow, but both a high priest and a regular priest cannot get married to a divorcee, a halala, a zona, like we just explained. Next, negative commandment. A person that has a blemish cannot go into the temple. Mikdash mina mizbech, a Kohen. A Kohen cannot go and serve in the temple if he has a blemish, whether it's a permanent blemish or a blemish that's just there for temporary. He's not allowed to serve. If he does, the punishment is lashes. Of course, he has to have a warning, and he has to have witnesses, and etc. Negative commandment. A Kohen who is impure, touched a dead body, whatever, cannot serve in the temple. Like it says, if he touched the dead body, he can never, for the rest of his life, serve in the temple until he has the ashes of the red cow spread on him. That we learned the paraduma. We learned. Negative commandment. A Kohen cannot eat impure foods that have been touched a dead body, or that came in contact with a sheretz. Anyway, foods that have become impure. Like by touching an impure thing, there's many laws what it is. what can be impure. But the father of all of them is a dead body. He can't eat impure truma. Truma is the produce which farmers give one part of their produce, 1/100th, 1/50th, whatever. And also the Levites also have to give a portion. The Kohanim not allowed to eat that if they are impure, even in their home, in their house. Mistake. I'm sorry. That's also true what I said, but this means this is if the Kohen himself is impure, he cannot eat holy things like truma. Like it says, Mizera Aron v'hu tzurua, if it's a tzurua or zav. Tzurua is a person mitzorat. Remember we learned that? Zav is that he has an emission, comes from him. We learned that also in Parshas Metzora. He's not allowed to eat holy things. Male or female, they're not allowed to eat. If a Kohen that touched a dead body or whatever, or that impurity comes from him, that he eats from truma, as the punishment is death. Death from heaven, like it says, Umesu bo ki chalalu. Therefore, if he ate unknowingly, or there weren't witnesses, if he ate unknowingly, etc., then the punishment is lashes. All right, what about the other way around? That's what I said before. What if the Kohen is impure and he eats impure food? Even though that it's forbidden, he transgressed, but he's not beaten. Why? Because he himself is not holy. It has to be, what about a pure priest that has not become defiled, and he eats, that's what I said in the beginning, he eats impure truma that had touched the dead body or whatever. He is transgressed in a positive commandment, like it says, he's not allowed to eat from this, and of course he does not get beaten because he does not, it's a positive command. You don't get beaten for positive commandments, except for two, and that is not circumcising your children, not bringing the korban pesach. Okay. Negative commandment. A non-Kohen, a zar, is a non-Kohen, is not allowed to eat truma. Truma, again, is that portion of the produce that the farmers, or if the farmers didn't do it, then you have to do it, give the truma to the Kohen, 1/100th of your produce, or 1/50th of your produce. A negative commandment. A non-Kohen, a zar, is a non-Kohen, cannot eat truma. Even if he is a servant of a Kohen, he's not allowed to eat kodesh. He can't eat holy things. Toshav, this means a person that the Kohen hired forever, and a sechir is a person that he hired him just for a couple of years or whatever. Nevertheless, he cannot eat truma. He's not allowed to eat truma, etc., of the Kohen. Negative commandment. A Kohen that is uncircumcised, a Kohen that was not circumcised is not allowed to eat any of the holy sanctified foods, truma, kodesh, etc. If he's not circumcised, he cannot eat any of the sanctified things. A negative commandment. A chalala, a woman that has had relations with someone forbidden to her, or a zone also, but a chalala, a woman which is born from a forbidden relationship, a Kohen, and let's say a divorced woman or whatever, and the girl child that's born from that's called a chalala, she cannot eat any of the holy things either. Like it says, Bat Kohen tiyeh lish zar, he betrumas chodeshim lo tochel. Not only that, if a Kohen's wife, a Kohen's daughter, even if she's a regular Kohen, she can only eat from the holy things while she is in her father's house. But if she gets married to a regular, normal Jew, then that's it. She can't eat holy foods anymore. She can't eat any foods anymore. But if she comes back to her father, says she can, unless that man was forbidden to her. If that man was forbidden to her, then that disqualifies her forever. She can never eat holy foods forever, and she can never marry a Kohen either. But a woman whose husband dies, right? She's a widow. She can get married to a Kohen. Not that she can't get married to the high Kohen, the high priest. Negative commandment. You're not allowed to take an animal that has a blemish, and dedicate it to the holy temple. An animal which has a blemish on it, if there's something wrong with the eyes, the nose, there's different. We'll learn what those blemishes are, right? So a Kohen that has a blemish, he cannot serve in the temple, and even the Kohen is okay. But if the animal has a blemish on it, then that is disqualified. That disqualifies the animal, and it cannot be brought to the temple. And if a person does it on purpose, then the animal is not made holy. Here, he gets beaten. He gets beaten. But if an animal is brought up on the altar, even though that it's no good, but nevertheless it is holy, and you can't. It's niskadsha, but tifte be'erech hakohen teitzel hakohen, but the Kohen can redeem it and it become regular because it's become, the sacrifice has it's become disqualified because it's disqualified. So it has holiness, but it can be redeemed. It can be redeemed. So it's holy until it becomes redeemed. It's not good as a sacrifice, but nevertheless it's been brought up on the altar, so it can. Negative commandment. You're not allowed to put a blemish in animals that were sanctified. You have an animal that's sanctified to the holy temple, and you really like that animal. Before it's brought up to the altar, you can redeem it. Right? Once it's up on the altar, you can't redeem it anymore, but brought up to the altar, and all of a sudden you look at this animal and you say, wow, I would really like, my son's going to get married tomorrow. This animal really looks nice to me. Maybe there's another one back there, a little bit thinner. I'll sacrifice that one instead of this one. But you can't do that. You already made a sacrifice. You already sanctified it. You can't exchange. And if you try to exchange, then both of them become holy, right? So what do? You figure, I got an idea. I'll put a little moon, a little blemish in the animal, something in the eye or the lip or something. I'll cut it or something like that, and that will make it disqualified. I'll say, oh, look, the animal is disqualified. Isn't this terrible? Looks like I'm going to have to redeem it and put money in its place or bring another animal in its place. She says you can't do that. If you put a blemish in an animal, then it is it's forbidden to do, and the punishment is beating. Only in the time of the temple, of course. Nowadays, there's not. 3 commandments. A negative commandment. We'll do 2 or 3 more, and that's it. Negative commandment. You're not allowed to slaughter a blemished animal for a sacrifice. Here it says you're not allowed to bring it, just to bring it up to sacrifice. Here you can't slaughter it. Like it says, Iverus or Shavur, an animal which is blind or broken, as a broken limb. You're not allowed to sacrifice it to God. This means not to slaughter an animal for the sacrifice. Slaughtering is done before the animal is brought up on the altar. Negative commandment. You're not allowed to burn the parts of the animal on the altar. Right? So here it's talking about sanctifying it. If it has a blemish, you're not allowed to sanctify it. If you say this animal is holy for the temple, I'm sorry, that was this one. If this animal is holy for the temple, right? You sanctify it, and it has a blemish in it, you did a sin. Here's another one that the animal didn't have a blemish and you purposely put a blemish in it in order to disqualify it. That's also a sin. Here it's talking about that you already did one sin. You sanctified the animal. Now you slaughtered it. That's done out right next to the altar. There's some of the sacrificed in just the courtyard, and there's some things, Kedushim Kalim, there's some that are sacrificed on the right side of the altar, on the north side. In any case, you slaughtered it, another sin. And then you took the offering and you brought it up you gave it to the Kohen, and he brought it up on the altar. That's another a negative commandment. You've done another prohibition. And there's a step in between that, and that is throwing the blood after you slaughter it, you receive the blood and you bring the blood to the altar and you throw the blood. There's different places according to the different sacrifice. You throw the blood. That's forbidden. You're not allowed to sprinkle the blood also on the altar. Negative command. We'll do two more. Not to castrate any animal. Shum bal chai, like it says, you're not allowed to do it, not even for the temple. It is forbidden to castrate an animal. Not supposed to. It's a punishment by lashes. And two more, almost halfway through. Negative commandment. They have details in it, etc. But if you're interested, we'll learn the other details. But okay, next, if a non-Jew brings a sacrifice for the temple, you are allowed to sacrifice it. Only certain sacrifices, like what's called peace offering, free will offerings, they can't. But if the offering of the non-Jew has a blemish in it, you are not allowed to bring that also as a sacrifice. Okay, next, in the Holy Temple, these are all Holy Temple commandments. In the Holy Temple, the Mashiach is going to come and he's going to build the Holy Temple, so get ready. These commandments are only for the Kohanim, though. Anyway, but it's just learning about them. This is the will of God, whether it's relevant or not to us, we're Kohanim or not. This is what God decided. Okay, positive commandment, that there should be this. You're not allowed to sacrifice an animal that is less than 8 days old. The sacrifice has to be at least 8 days old, like it says, Miyom Shmini v'hala yiratzeh lekorban Hashem. It has to be 8 days old. And last one, a negative commandment, not to slaughter in the Holy Temple. Actually, this even applies now. You're not allowed to slaughter a animal and its mother or its father or its son or its daughter on the same day. Like it says, you're not allowed to slaughter the animal with its father or its mother or its son, its daughter, whatever, on the same day. Of course, it's pretty hard to know who the father is in animals. But if you do know who the father is, you're not allowed to. But it and its mother, you're not supposed to slaughter on the same day. Or its mother or a mother with its child, you're not allowed to slaughter on the same day. Even now that law is by Noeg B'chulin. This is in even non-holy things and in every place and all time, males and females. And we'll continue tomorrow. Reish Tzadik Vav. We finished, with God's help, 30 of the 62 commandments, 63 commandments, this week's Torah portion. We'll continue, God willing, with some more tomorrow. Interesting ones, interesting commandments. Now it's going to get more relevant to our day-to-day life. See you tomorrow, God willing, 8:15. Shalom uvracha. Have a good day with Mashiach now.